Williams here with the Distance. Got a video for you guys. This is a fantasy matchup between Michael Spinks and Joe Calzaghe. This is a fantasy matchup that was given to me a couple weeks ago, so I thought I just might as well do this one while I have time. So I think about 3 videos are going to go up tonight. If you have a chance, check them out. If not, it's cool. So Joe Calzaghe versus Michael Spinks. This one there wasn't really, to me, too much research going into this one, because I've broken down both. I've seen both styles. I watched some Joe Calzaghe over the last few years, and I watched a lot of videos on Michael Spinks. I even rated him in my top 5 light heavyweights about 2.5 years ago at number 4, and mentioned that in a lot of light heavyweight fights, in the important fights at light heavyweight, he pretty much in most of his title defenses just had knockouts, and went on from there. I believe in unifications. I don't think he had I don't think he knocked out fighters in unifications, but he was able to unify all the belts and clean out that division before moving up to heavyweight in 1985. But against Joe Calzaghe, more than likely what Spinks would do in a fight like this, he would probably keep Calzaghe at the end of his jab. And he threw a very hard, authoritative jab and had a lot of bad intentions behind that jab. And also he could take punches back in return at light heavyweight. Joe Calzaghe has only had like 2 light heavyweight fights against 2 older fighters, Bernard Hopkins and Roy Jones Jr. And I remember the April 19 fight. The April 19 fight between Hopkins and Calzaghe. And I just remember, I thought at the time, which was like about almost 4 years ago, I was thinking, wow, either Hopkins is old or, Calzaghe, either Hopkins is old or Calzaghe is better than we think he is, But at the end of the day, at the end of that year of 2008, Calzaghe retired, so we don't know at light heavyweight how good Calzaghe really was. He retired after 2 fights, Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins. And they were older fighters. And at the time, there was Antonio Tarver, who's I believe was the IBF champion. Or he actually lost the IBF belt in October of that year. Glenn Johnson, I think that fight they were trying to set up, being that Johnson probably would have traveled to UK to fight him. But that one didn't happen. And of course there was Chad Dawson. And some people when he retired said, that Calzaghe ducked Chad Dawson. And I wouldn't say that he ducked Chad Dawson, because even though at the time Chad Dawson did have a little bit of unfinished business with Glenn Johnson, and then he had that immediate rematch clause with Antonio Tarver, which was originally scheduled for March of 2009, but got pushed back to May. So contract obligations kind of helped that fight not happen, and even some we're talking about, potential battle with Kelly Pavlik. A lot of people on the internet forums were really trying to hype up a fight between Kelly Pavlik and Joe Calzaghe, but those plans pretty much changed when October 18 of 2008, when Bernard Hopkins came in and outclassed Kelly Pavlik in their fight, which was a stupid pay-per-view fight, if you ask me. I don't think it was pay-per-view worthy, and that's just my opinion. But Calzaghe, came in his last fight against Roy Jones, which is in 2008. He came in, got knocked down from that forearm in the first round, came back and just, used his hand speed to his advantage, and, beating the older Roy Jones. And this was a situation where Roy had me fooled. I thought Roy Jones had a chance in that fight, but he didn't. But Calzaghe was really good at being awkward. He was a southpaw. He had good hand speed. He, his defense was all right. He had all right defense, but his defense in a way was also, just letting his hands go. And he was really good at just letting his hands go and not getting anything back, and using his hand speed to pressure his opponents, and getting himself into a position to where he used his hand speed and just let him go. And a lot of those punches were just straight. I remember watching him train one time, and this is not real life, but I remember seeing stuff on the internet, and not only on the internet, but the HBO clips and stuff like that. And I was kind of amazed at that time at how fast his hands were. His hand speed was very fast, and sometimes the hands were right back in position. And a lot of fighters that have fast hands, their hands are not always back in position after they throw. Sometimes, they have this little technical flaw. But Calzaghe's hands were just right back into the position, like normal. But in a fight like this, Calzaghe would have to try to get inside of Spinks' jab. Spinks is going to try to, keep him on the outside of that jab and just keep him, at the end of it and look for the right hand or left hook and fight on the outside. What a lot of opponents didn't really do with Calzaghe. A lot of opponents that Calzaghe had faced stood in front of him and didn't really do much of anything. And Spinks will use a lot of lateral movement, jab, look for different directions to jab from, and land his right hand, and probably try to find a way to punch in between Calzaghe's punches, and look for defensive holes in there. And the thing with Spinks was Spinks didn't wait, and Calzaghe did very well against opponents that waited and stood in front of him. But in this fight, I think Michael Spinks will win this fight, just on more than likely on decision or even on a late knockout. Just because I think at light heavyweight, dude was a beast. He's one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, if you ask me. One of the most technical and one of the most skilled light heavyweights of all time. The thing about him was, I have to say Michael Spinks, because with Michael Spinks, he's fought the best at light heavyweight. I believe he fought Matthew Saad Muhammad. He fought Dwight Braxton or Dwight Muhammad Cowie, Marvin Johnson. And these are tough guys. Dwight Braxton didn't have the longest reach, but that dude could just pressure and pressure and pressure throughout fights, and he hit hard and knew how to shorten his punches up on the inside, and he has a victory over Dwight Braxton. So, like I said, he didn't get unify all the belts by fighting nobody. So I'm gonna have my bias towards Michael Spinks. I just think overall technically, he can make the proper adjustments to beat Calzaghe and negate that hand speed, with his timing and just keeping him on the outside, making Calzaghe try to step in, and also just kind of looking for the right hand, looking for ways to land his right hand. So I would go with Michael Spinks in this one. So anyway, peeps, I'm out of here. That was The Distance. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Yeah, I used to let my close partner keep his chopper in my school locker. Young and naive when I wasn't acting the fool. I was playing with emotions of playing ball. Used to sell bud at the village, knew a lot of killers since they were small. East 17th, Virginia Street, and Ben and me.